Hello everybody, I'm Junia Doan, and this is Uncommon Sense. Thank you for joining us. My guest today is Ron Beebe. I met Ron at the Mid-Michigan Innovation Annual Exposition of New Companies. He earned a degree in accounting and economics from Central Michigan, and he is CEO of Euclid? Is that how you say it?
That's correct.
So glad I got it right, Industries, and was regional president at Airgas. So welcome, Ron.
Thank you.
Well, Euclid, now that I have the name properly said, what is its scope? What is its focus? What is it?
Euclid's a manufacturing company. Got its starts working in the automobile industry. Now it's expanded and it's only about 15% automobile today, but we make things like transmissions and shock absorbers, and we do management services for companies. We make shift assemblers. If you have a car with a column shift and it happens to be a Toyota or a General Motors, we make the little device that your gear shift sticks into that actually shifts the transmission. So it's primary manufacturing. We'd be called a Tier 1 or sometimes a Tier 2 company in the automobile world.
And how did you get into that line of work?
Well, I bought the company, actually.
You did? Okay.
I helped a couple of friends of mine open the company, to start the company, maybe 19, 20 years ago. And then went off and did my thing in other companies, and they got ready to sell it. So they called me and they said, gee, would you help us value it and sell it? And I did, because that's what I've been doing for a long time, is acquisitions. And they said, well, gee, we'd like to have this much money for it. And I said, at that price, I would be a buyer.
Right.
So I sold the company to myself.
So when you helped, you were involved with acquisitions. Were you doing that for yourself or other people?
Both. My career at Airgas, which spanned 15 years, I spent most of my time actually helping grow that company by buying other companies.
What are some of the other investments or companies you're looking at right now?
Well, right this minute, in terms of companies that I'm looking at to either acquire or help acquire, I'm working with a doctor down in the Flint area to open an urgent care clinic. Working with a company that manufactures trailers to get them financing. I'm looking at a company up in Hillman, Michigan that has developed a way to make gluten-free flour.
Now, how did they come to you?
They actually came through Blue Water Angels.
About which we'll talk later.
Okay.
Okay.
And that was how I met those folks. Met a lady recently that has invented a disposable toilet plunger. And
how does that work?
Well, I don't know a lot about this company. I'm going to meet her soon, but it's the handle of the plunger, and then the plunger part itself. When you're done with it, you simply push the button on the handle. It drops into the basket. You dispose of it, and then you store the handle back in the drawer, or wherever you'd have it. So I think it's intriguing. We'll see whether it's got economic capability. But
tell me more about some current or recent deals that you've either rejected or pursued.
Well, rejected would be one. We recently worked, again, this was through Blue Water Angels. We looked at a company that has designed a laser technology that can take the paint off a surface like a airplane without damaging the substructure. So if you can imagine being able to control a laser to the point where you just take off that few millicrons of paint without damaging the understructure. That's a company that we didn't invest in, but it was interesting technology. So that was fun. I'm right now buying a manufacturing facility down in South Carolina to expand a business that I own. That's taking up a fair amount of my time. I do lots of stuff.
So why did the laser peeler for paint not appeal to your group, about which we'll talk in 1 second?
Well, because an idea has value or economic value, doesn't necessarily make it a good investment. Mm-hmm. The folks that own the intellectual rights to that had developed a structure within their business that that really didn't appeal to us as third-party investors. When you make an investment in a company, you're always looking for a way that someday, after you've helped them get going, to exit. And that structure just didn't appeal to that function. So they're going to go. I'm sure they'll find investors and be successful.
What have you learned? You certainly learned to be careful of that, but how did you train yourself about what to look for, what not to invest in? How does someone think about that? How did you think about it?
I think you have to be very consistent. We use a very consistent approach to evaluating businesses, and we don't invest in things that don't fit that model. And that doesn't mean that model's right, but that's just how we do things. But I think the biggest lesson I've learned is probably to fail fast. If you're going to fail at something, do it quickly so that the cost is lower.
How do you recognize that you're on your way to failure, as opposed to just it's a dip and we have to press on?
Well, I think that's very tough. I mean, there are some things that are evident. When you invest in things, you invest in people. And if it turns out that those folks that you invest in are not don't have the ongoing desire to be successful or those kinds of things, then it's time to get out. But investing is really about people to people. It's not different than you and I talking to each other.
So what would you look for in a person or a group of people that you were going to invest with?
First of all, we look for good ideas.
Yeah.
Beyond the good ideas, we look for people that have great integrity. I look for people that have demonstrated work ethic, because starting a new business is hard work.
Long hours.
And then I like to find people that have similar life values, core values to what we believe are right. So integrity, generosity, I think, is a significant. To be a true entrepreneur, you have to be willing to share. And you have to bring along beside you other people that are brighter in those areas that you're not bright in. So generosity is an important aspect.
By which you mean what in this case, generosity?
The generosity to share both your opinions and feelings with other people, but also your economics. None of us have all the ingredients.
Yes.
To make a successful business. And those folks that recognize that their skills and their shortcomings and are able to backfill their businesses with those folks that are much better than they are.
So what areas do you backfill on yourself?
Personally,
yeah,
I like people that are to work with me that can concentrate on getting things all the way through. I'm the starter. I'm the encourager. I'm able to start, dozens of things and have dozens of things going. I need people to work with me that take all those started up things and take them on to fruition and get them done. So, and I hire people with engineering skills, which I have very few. My skill is economic and understanding people. I think I'm pretty good at being an encourager and being a coach. So.
How much is it intuitive about people? How much is it just dialogue and you know what they know? Or
I think it's intuitive, but only to the extent that if you spend enough time with someone. Just talking like you and I are doing, you get to know that person, and you get to know their true feelings, and there's indicators. I like to be involved with people that have the same interests I do. I think that a spiritual involvement is important. In all relationships. So, I'm not saying that they have to have the same spiritual beliefs that I would have, but I think that I think it's valuable for people to have a spiritual aspect to their lives, as well as physical and academic. So.
Tell us about the Blue Water Angels.
Oh, I think that's a marvelous organization. That really started from, I think, from a dream that your husband had. And you know, it's all about involving more people in the world of business in this area. Mm-hmm. You know, providing for economic stability and growth and jobs for our grandchildren. It started with some folks from Dow Chemical, Alan Alamein, and John Bartos was involved very early on. There's probably a dozen fellas and ladies that got together and said, you know, we really do need to provide a forum for people with ideas from this area to take them from the concept stage to the growth stage, to business, to being successful. And Blue Water does. They're Blue Water Angels are capital with connections, as as our president says. So,
and what I understand is that when you commit in general to make an investment, you do not have to make you are personally deciding whether you're going to go into this idea or this company or that company. So you can say both no and yes. It's not putting money into a big fund and then you vote.
Yeah, that's right. We had a choice when we started of creating a pool of money that then some people would invest, where all members would have you know, some equity share from the pool, or allowing people to come and see opportunities and make individual decisions whether or not they wanted to invest. So, you know, once a quarter, we might have 2 to 3 investments that we present to the general membership of the Blue Water Angels at a dinner meeting that we hold, and then each of those folks individually decide whether or not they want to form a company that then invests in that opportunity. So. I like that format. I think that's a very interesting format. It also provides a lot of opportunity for folks that have, you know, interest in the business to be involved. You know, when we talk about capital with connections, you know, people can invest money, but what we really want is someone like Ted Skinner, who's part of our group, to come and bring marketing skills. You know, he was a marketing executive with Dow Corning. And
I always wondered how small companies got the right advice when they don't have money to pay to hire people. And is there a process
I think that's very difficult. In fact, when I left public accounting, I had this resource when I worked for an international accounting firm that you know, if you had a question, you could go to the resource,
yes.
and you know, someone else
Full
somewhere
support.
in the world had already experienced that issue, and they were available to talk to you, or there was a white paper written where you could read about it. When you leave there and you go into small business, you know, there's no one. I mean, there's a huge void of sources of information. So,
but is there a process that has been developed, or you think should be developed, or that inadvertently you do through Blue Water Angels, that makes that easier for at least people in our area who are getting funding to say, oh, you might check in with A, B, and C?
I think that the Blue Water Angels really fills that void, maybe in a number of ways. You know, a lot of folks that invent things, that have good business ideas, have no sense of business.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's members in the Blue Water Angels that can help them develop business plans through the Mid-Michigan Innovation Center and other places. But
so what would a guy with ideas that are good need to have advice in? What areas?
all those areas that he's not good in. But primarily, he needs advice in how to start his company, how to take his company from his garage into commercial space, and then how to prove that that's a product that there's markets for, and then developing the techniques to get it from concept to product, that scale-up time, if you will. And then beyond that, there's funding growth. Successful businesses require tremendous amounts of capital for inventory and overhead, and so I think all the way along the line, those are the things that people need.
So for someone who's watching has a really good idea and says, I'd like to give it a whirl, what would you say are the first 3 steps that person ought to take?
I think they ought to have an accountant,
Right.
and have that accountant help them try to put some economics to write something down on paper that they think they might achieve. And then I think they need to go to a place like the Mid-Michigan Innovation Center and get some free coaching as to the process that they will need to go through to do that. And then I would encourage them to get into the Blue Water program. The Blue Water, to get to a Blue Water dinner where the members are actually there and get to witness what it is that you'd like to do, as an entrepreneur. You've got to go through a boost night where you go and you get a couple of minutes to present your product, and then the people in the audience get to interface with you for a brief period of time and help encourage you and offer you ideas on how you might improve. And the people that make it through that program go to a pitch night, which is coming up this Thursday at Valley Plaza, at the Grand Hall at Valley Plaza. If you're people were interested in going to that. It's 6 to 9 at the Great Lake. And the people that present at pitch get a longer period of time to discuss their business plan and again receive questions back from successful business people or other entrepreneurs that that have maybe traveled a path similar to that. And then after that, with coaching and help from the people that they've met at Boost and Pitch, they ultimately get to present to the Blue Water Angels, and that's where people make decisions to invest in their company. So. It's an exciting process, and
it is.
And you say, well, are there very many people, that are interested in? There are wonderful ideas in this area. This area is just full of people with interesting ideas, and good business opportunities that don't have a channel, that don't, you talk about that process, that don't know about the channel. So,
you're such an idea person. Now, has that gone into some volunteer areas outside of the business world?
It does. My wife and I, we spent kind of the first half of our life working pretty hard at business, and now we're working pretty hard at changing people's lives. So, we do a lot. I don't know if we do a lot, but we're very involved in doing things that help change this world. So,
would you care to say an example or two?
Well, we're probably the most significant thing that we're involved in from a benevolence standpoint is the Children's Dyslexia Center. It's one of 56 sites in the country right now, growing. The Children's Dyslexia Center provides one-on-one tutoring with children with dyslexia. It's very regimented tutoring. Some 12 to 15% of the children in this country suffer from some degree of dyslexia. People learn differently. I guess that maybe is the best way to put that. If people don't know what dyslexia is, their brains are wired. Those children's brains are wired differently.
Makes it difficult for them to read.
So it makes it difficult for them to read, and some other functions sometimes. But it's remedial. We take a child. Not me. I wish I was the skilled educator. I'm not. I'm the fundraiser, if you will. But we take children that are maybe in the 5th or 6th grade or the 8th grade and are reading at a 2nd grade level. And in the course of a couple of years of one-on-one intensive tutoring, get them up to grade level reading or beyond.
Thrilling.
It's exciting. There's a high 90 percentile effective rate. One quick story: we had a boy, a hockey player, tough little kid, and he kind of protected his ego, if you will, by just beating people up when people would kid him about being slow or dumb or stupid. And he was tutored for a couple of years. Came as a 9th grader. as a junior, now he's graduated from the tutoring program, he gets out of special ed, gets into the into regular classes. As a senior, he called us, and his parents took us to breakfast one morning, and he'd been accepted at Michigan Tech in the engineering program.
Oh my goodness!
You know.
What
So,
a difference!
That's just it's such a remarkable outcome, and of course the societal cost of not doing things is something we need to look
Yes.
at. Our prisons are quite frankly full of people that have reading disorders. Now all those people probably are dyslexic. I don't know.
Yes.
But Einstein was severely dyslexic. The societal cost of not helping these children is just uncountable.
Now, you mentioned in the business side working with your wife. Had you worked with your wife? Or is that...
well, my wife is the chief executive officer of our home. We have 4 children. They're all grown. 2 are married, 5 grandchildren. She spent, while I was out building air gas from 5 million to 2 billion, 4 billion, 2 billion, 2.5 billion. They're now 4 billion. She ran the house. She raised our kids. She's a marvelous CEO. Now she's an educator in the middle public school system. But she's involved in tutoring children. Before school, after school, she meets with children one-on-one. She is just a monster. I mean, she's wonderful. She just goes and goes and goes.
How, with your, what kind of personality is she? How do you get along?
Oh, we're both A's. We're both driven people, but we get along very well. We've been married for 38 years.
What are your marriage tips for people who might be interested?
Know when to be quiet, I think, would be my primary for us.
Yes.
One of us always has to stop. One of us always has to say that we're not gonna dispute this issue. But I don't think either one of us walk away. We're eager people.
What did you want your children to know? What values?
Oh, I think that love God, have high integrity, work hard. Those would be the things. That's what we teach our kids.
Very important.
They're very valuable to us. We spend a long time working with our kids.
Do you change with your grandchildren? Is it a different role?
Well, they're more fun. I mean, we have 3 of them staying with us right now, and one is 5 months, so she doesn't have a lot of interaction with us. We get to hold her and hug her and cuddle her, but I don't think that changes. No, I mean they're very young kids right now, so modeling that I think is really the issue. Kids today have a tough time, because they don't have. We've lost a lot of our strong families. Children need parents. Children need parents to be parents. And,
yeah.
It's harder today for children. But that's a cycle. It's going to come back around. These kids that have had a tough time growing up are going to be better parents.
It's true. Adversity gives us choice.
That's right. That's exactly right. So,
and sometimes it makes us better people.
Yeah. The glass is half full. It needs to be full, but it's half full for a lot, and they just need to fill it up. So I think that's happening, quite frankly. I think that...
I'm glad you're optimistic. I love that. I really love that. No, it's always good to be optimistic because it empowers you to make ideas and give energy to solutions. I love it.
Yeah.
Listen, I want to thank you for being with us today, and I have learned a lot, and I have learned it's good to know numbers. It's good to be an accountant. So when someone approaches you and says, you are able to evaluate it. He's got a lot of drive, but even though he sees all sorts of companies, he has a profile against which he measures them as to whether or not he will invest. Moreover, he is wise enough to know what he's strong at and what he's not so interested, not so good at. He's an idea person. He needs people who give his company structure. He has them. This is very good. He has very strong moral values himself in terms of honor and integrity and a love of God. and he supports his community and his wife, and very important, know when not to say something in a marriage so the conflict can subside a little. And always admire your spouse, admire the people you're with, love your children, and live life with enthusiasm. Even though it's a little bit of a hard time, as he mentioned about children right now, they will make better parents. Go out, parents. Be good. You are terrific. It's in your hands. You can do it. I promise you.
To contact Junia, send her an email at info@juniadoan.com. For more information, program schedules, and news about future guests, go to www.juniadoan.com. Thanks for joining us. See you next time for Uncommon Sense with Junia Doan.